All right, everybody. Hello. Mike Heck here from MMAfighting.com here on this Saturday, early in the day compared to most times you would hear my voice on the Saturday. But we are here to react to some massive news announced last night by one of the greatest to ever do it. And there you see it. Demetrious Johnson, the former longtime UFC flyweight champion, the now former ONE flyweight champion, announced his retirement from mixed martial arts last night at ONE Championship 168 in Denver. Makes the announcement in the same city, coincidentally, as his final fight in Denver, Colorado. He defeated Adriano Moraes for the second straight time. It was ONE Fight Night 10 last year. And this is what he said last night. It was a very emotional retirement announcement, but the big quote that stood out to a lot of people, like I said last time, when I came to Denver, Colorado, I told you guys it was potentially my last fight. And I was not lying. I am done. I am done competing in mixed martial arts. I want to thank you guys so much for giving me the opportunity. Quite an emotional ride for Demetrious Johnson. But at 38 years of age, Mighty Mouse has called it a career, doing so with a record of 25-4-1. And what a career it was. So we are here to talk about DJ's incredible career. And we would need really a full 24 hours to contextualize all of it, but we're going to do the best we can in a short amount of time. And I'm sure we'll talk more on other programs about DJ announcing his retirement. But joining me right now to discuss this big news is Mr. No Gray Area himself, Jed Meshew, who is perfect for this, in my opinion, because he hosts a tremendous show reflecting on the careers of greatness. Damn, they were good. You can find it in the archives of the MMA Fighting Podcasting Network. Jed, thank you for hopping on. First question, what was your reaction to this news last night?
I was pretty surprised, honestly. And it probably, in hindsight, maybe we shouldn't have been. He's 38. You know, it's not a stunner that he is laying it down. But like a couple of weeks ago, he went on Rampage Jackson's podcast and basically said, I'm not officially retired. I might retire at some point officially, but for now, I'm just not that interested. Unless somebody comes in with a big opportunity, a big offer, I'm kind of focusing on other things. And to me, I thought that's how this would go. Like it would be a Forrest Griffin retirement. He never really officially retires. He just stops competing. And then, you know, we internally, there were certainly some discussions when it was announced that DJ is going to make an announcement at ONE. It was like, okay, we'll keep an eye on the broadcast, see what happens. The presumption was that it would be a fight. It would be a fight against somebody, maybe MMA, maybe not. But, you know, maybe he's going to do a Muay Thai fight or something like that. Maybe he and Mikey Musumeci are going to, like, a lot of options were out there. And then lo and behold, it is this. And so I was pretty caught off guard on this because this is, you know, we're talking about one of the 6 best male MMA fighters of all time. Pretty undeniably, in my opinion, one of the 6 best. And so, like that, it's a pretty big deal for him to hang it up. Granted, with the major caveat that nobody retires in MMA and that, you know, him saying I'm retired does not close the door on him coming back next year. We've seen everyone basically do that. But assuming this holds true, I was surprised by how it happened and honestly a little like more sad than I sort of anticipated being.
Agreed. What's crazy about all of this, and we'll run down some of the accolades in a moment, but there are a lot of newer MMA fans over the past 3 or 4 years since the pandemic era when the UFC was kind of the only game in town that completely missed DJ's UFC run. And it's too bad because it was absolutely incredible. 15-2-1 in the UFC, which includes 3 fights at bantamweight. He competed in WEC before that as a bantamweight as well. But it was the introduction of the UFC flyweight division where Demetrious Johnson really found his stride. He fights Ian McCall to a draw. This is when the UFC actually did tournaments. They had a 4-man tournament to crown the first UFC flyweight champion. Fights Ian McCall to a draw. Then he beats him by decision in June of 2012. And then he goes on to fight Joseph Benavidez in the finals of that tournament, UFC 152. Wins the title via split decision. It was a very close fight. Personally, I thought the right guy won. And then DJ is just off to the races from there. He would go on to defend that title 11 consecutive times, a UFC record. He beats John Dotson, John Moraga, beats Joseph Benavidez again to just silence all the doubters. This time he knocks him out in just over 2 minutes. Then he fights Ali Bagatinov, Chris Carrioso, Kyoji Horiguchi, wins with the last second armbar. He beats John Dodson again. Then he knocks out Henry Cejudo in the first round. Then he beats Tim Elliott, who earned his shot on The Ultimate Fighter, Wilson Hayes, and then Ray Borg with the mighty whiz bar, one of the greatest submissions of all time. And if you have not seen Demetrious Johnson fight, I implore you, if you have never seen this finish, go to Fight Pass or ESPN Plus, go find UFC 216, go out of your way to watch it, because this is an incredible performance from Demetrious Johnson. And the way this thing ends with him chucking a man up in the air, and then as he's about to hit the ground, he puts this man in an armbar and taps him. It's absolutely insane. Not only that, he breaks the record for the most consecutive title defenses at 11. He's tied with John Jones. Oh,
I mean, kind of. So he had tied the record. Anderson Silva's win over Travis Lutter doesn't count as a title defense, but that's garbage. Travis Lutter missed weight, so that doesn't count as a title defense. So it is tied. I know that officially it's not, but that's very, very silly. Anderson Silva fought 11 times with the belt.
Fair. We deal with official stats here. At least today we're doing that. He's tied with John Jones with the most successful title defenses total in UFC history. Again, I know Jed will say that's probably not all that true because of the Travis Lutter fight, but then he goes on to lose the title to Henry Cejudo, UFC 227 in August 2018. It was a split decision, a very contentious decision at the time. Had people torn, very close fight. I thought DJ won at 48-47, but it was very, very close, not a robbery. And then he becomes part of, and call it whatever you want, but DJ was part of the first and at this point only major trade in major MMA history. He goes to ONE. UFC gets Ben Askren in a shocking move, considering all the things Dana White said about Ben Askren in the previous years. He goes to ONE. He makes the most money he's ever made by a floppity jillion times, goes 5-1 in the promotion. He wins the flyweight title. He loses it to Adriano Moraes. Vicious knockout loss. Then he gets it back with a vicious knockout of his own 16 months later. In between, he has a mixed rules fight with Rod Tang, which was so fun. Wins that one, and then he beats Moraes again in the final fight of his career. He holds pretty much every UFC flyweight record you can create or imagine. 9 performance bonuses. The accolades go on and on and on. And this is just sort of the Cliff Notes version running through the career of Demetrious Johnson. Like I said earlier, we could do this for an entire day, maybe even an entire week. So, Jed, I want to bring you in. Let's do a little split screen action, because I know when we talk about pound for pound and we have the GOAT conversations, it's kind of a silly conversation because it is so subjective and your opinion is your opinion. To me, and I know you said top 6, to me, he is at worst a Mount Rushmore fighter. And I think if a fan doesn't have him in their top 5, and I'll even throw in top 6 on their greatest ever list, then the list is just incorrect, right? Do you just feel the same way? If he's not top 6, you're probably wrong here.
It's not probably, you're just objectively wrong. And that's going to bother some people because they don't like when I use the word objectively, but there are objective and subjective truths. And this is one of them. I love the pound for pound debate as much as the next person. I think it is endlessly fun to debate till I'm blue in the face with, New York Rick, that John Jones isn't the GOAT. Ultimately it is kind of a silly debate, but here's where I come down. There are 6 male fighters who are in the discussion, and there are only 6. And if they are incontrovertible. And so whoever, as long as your GOAT is among those 6, I don't really have an issue with it. And then it's just us quibbling or parsing out the order of those 6. But there is a pantheon tier of MMA fighters, and Demetrious Johnson is in them. The male pantheon of MMA fighters is Demetrious Johnson, Anderson Silva, Jose Aldo, George St-Pierre, John Jones, Fedor Emelianenko. Those are the 6. There are other people who you may be compelled or interested in arguing for. They ain't it. It's those 6 dudes. That is the list. Habib, if he had hung around for longer, would have absolutely broken into the pantheon. But the reality is his reign at the top was very short. And so despite the fact that he's the greatest of all time in the best weight class of all time, he's just kind of left out of that conversation. And so as long as Demetrious is in your top 6, I don't have a huge issue. I would personally, if I am ordering those 6, Sometimes that'll just depend on how I'm feeling that day. Like I'll go back and look and be like, hey man, this resume is a little better than I remembered, or maybe I'm just feeling a little more partial to these performances on any particular day. Kind of if I'm doing mine, DJ's probably higher than 6, but as long as those 6 are in there at the top of your conversation, then you're doing fine.
It's one of the DJs, one of the, and I've been saying this for years that, and I think the top 2 on this list are DJ and Daniel Cormier, for the fighters who did not get enough credit while they were around, but will get it more so once they're gone. I think when people go back and reflect on their careers, those are 2 guys you'd be like, damn, just like your show, damn, they were good. Like they were really, really good. And for being as great as DJ was, he is truly the king of the flyweight unders and just unders in general. And what I mean by that is probably the most underrated, underappreciated, undervalued, all of the unders when you describe this man fighters ever, because he never got the push from the UFC that he deserved. He never got the promotion that he deserved. I don't think he got enough love from the fans, and I think a lot of it has to go to the former 2 points I just made. And what was great about DJ is he went out and did a lot of this stuff to get as over as he ended up getting on his own. The video game streams and the Twitch and the social media stuff and this and that. And because of that, this man's greatness, what he was able to accomplish, has just never gotten the respect that it deserves. And I feel like Daniel Cormier, as he retired, and I know he's, a lot of newer fans look at him as more of a color commentator than a past fighter, but I feel like the fans who didn't appreciate him while he was fighting appreciate him more. Now that DJ is retired, do you feel that the underappreciated, the undervalued, etc., adjectives used to describe this man, do you feel that will change, that he will be discussed now in the proper context? Or do you think that's just going to take a lot of time and a lot of reminding people about it?
He's never going to get the credit he deserves. It's just that simple. He DJ didn't get the credit he deserved at the time because there was an idea that flyweight sucked, which was a very felonious idea. Like it was very, very ridiculous. I'm not here to say that every title defense he had was over an amazing all-time great fighter, but there are, if you look at his resume, a lot of very good names. And more to the point, literally every long-reigning champion has duds. Anderson Silva has Patrick Cote and Talis Leites. Like those are that's the Chris Carriasso to DJ. Those things happen. But flyweight, because it was a new weight class, had the panache or the patina of not being as good when it was actually a tremendously good weight class. His win over Joseph Benavidez is as good a win as anyone has in the sport, frankly. Like Joseph Benavidez is an unbelievable fighter who only isn't a former champion because he existed at the time Demetrious Johnson existed. Kyoji Horiguchi certainly was young, like not prime Kyoji, but there. John Dodson, unbelievable pair of wins. Henry Cejudo, I thought he won the second fight, though, not a robbery. Like these are great wins, and he never got the credit that he honestly deserved for it. And he's not going to now, because maybe in this exact moment, more people will come out and celebrate him, as happened with instances like this. But I mean, DJ obviously, undisputably deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. I have no belief that he will get put in the Hall of Fame. He is not on good terms with the UFC. I'm not sure that he's on like out and out bad terms, but he's been really public about his pay and kind of how his career with the promotion ended, and they traded him for a dude who lost a bunch. And like I don't think he cares if he gets inducted into the Hall of Fame, but for better or worse, the UFC is MMA. Like it just is, and that will rub a lot of people wrong, but it controls the narrative to such a degree that if he doesn't get a 90-second promo during Contender Series extolling how great he is, then a vast majority of fans just won't understand or believe it. And so, like, we will fet him. We will do a damn they were good on him. We will celebrate his accomplishments. And whenever the GOAT debate comes up, I will always, as I always have done, bring him up as one of the dudes in the conversation. But broadly speaking, because of how his career ended, in relative quiet terms in ONE, and with the UFC not, really digging what he's saying, I don't think he is ever going to kind of be hallowed in the way, broadly speaking, that he should be.
Yeah, he should be in the UFC Hall of Fame for sure. It'd be a pretty cool thing to see them reach out and make this happen. And if this was like 3 years ago, I would say there's zero chance he gets in. But I actually think because of this TKO merger and just kind of seeing how WWE has done business over the years, I mean, there are guys in the WWE Hall of Fame that you would think would never have gotten there. Bret Hart and Bruno Sammartino and like guys like that who just had such, even like Hogan to some degree, contentious relationships with WWE and Vince at the time, that maybe like they just say like, look, you got to put this dude in there. Like you just got to do it. Like just swallow your pride. Like you don't see Dana up there doing announcements anyways. Just get him in there and like let him have a thing. I think that would be a pretty cool thing to do on the UFC's part. And he absolutely should be in there. He's one of the best fighters to ever step foot in their octagon, no matter what the relationship is. Sometimes you just got to put the personal feelings aside and do the right thing. But
I mean, I agree, but I just have no
I don't.
confidence that's happening.
Yeah. What would you set the line at? Like -400 that he doesn't get in?
I think he'll get in eventually, but like for better or worse, and I want to be extremely clear. I'm not saying that this is a from the top dicta. I do not believe Dana White is saying don't induct that dude. But like we saw it with the Francis Ngannou erasure. Dana answered the question like, "Hey, about this," and his answer, and I honestly believe his answer in this thing is, I didn't tell anybody not to put Francis in promo packages. Like I'm not that petty where I was like, guys, cut him out. Somebody just thought that that's the answer I would want, because that is the culture that pervades the UFC. That is the culture he has fostered and created. And so ultimately, there's just not enough impetus for someone to be like, hey, let's do this, unless Dana says, hey, let's do this. And I hope I'm wrong. Like it would be everything you said, and very obviously, but like Frank Shamrock very clearly deserves to be in the UFC Hall of Fame, and he isn't. So like I will believe that when I see it, or I will believe it when leadership in the UFC organization changes and they become more kind of open to ideas like this, because I don't think it will happen at this point in time. Hope I'm wrong. Just don't. I would put it at -300 that in the next 5 years DJ is inducted into the Hall of Fame.
Well, I mean, if we had a similar conversation in like July of 2018, we'd probably say no chance Ben Askren fights in the UFC. And then all of a sudden, a few months later, here we are. Ben Askren is in the UFC. And in order for that to happen, the UFC sends Demetrious Johnson over to ONE Championship. I remember
absolutely
just
insane.
being on Twitter and like reading MMA Fighting that day. And I was kind of like dabbling in the sport and doing interviews and stuff, but I wasn't writing or doing anything like that. I just remember being like, holy crap, like this is actually happening. What was going on with you? Because I think you were doing some stuff for the site at the time, were you not?
I was. Oh yeah, I'd been working here for a couple of years at that point. When that happened, I remember as it happened, it was cool. It was so weird. Immediately, I pitched, "Hey, let's do a trade thing. Like, let's do a what other MMA trades should happen piece." That was fun, and then we wrote, and then I still have bookmarked in my portfolio. And like it was a genuinely wild, cool thing. In retrospect, I can't express how much I hate it, because it would have been something that I enjoyed if that was the start of something. If suddenly there became sort of a not free agency really, but like, if there were trades that happened more commonly in MMA organizations, that would just honestly be a really cool thing if this was the first one. But then every couple of years we'd get a package of one fighter swap in, or KSW, or however it works, just in ways that were mutually beneficial. Because on paper and objectively speaking, this trade was totally good. Like both parties were satisfied. This was a trade where neither person got substantially more than the other. Everybody leaves happy, because the UFC got Ben Askren, and they only got him for 3 fights, but those 3 fights were significant for them. The Robbie Lawler fight was very big. Askren kind of got away with one there. But then if for no other reason, they got to launch Jorge Masvidal into stardom with the Ben Askren acquisition, And then they finished it up with the Damian Maya, and that's okay. But that was there was a year-long period where Ben Askren was dominating headlines, drawing interest, and frankly speaking, doing better at the promoting of the UFC brand than DJ ever did. That's not a knock on DJ. It's a knock on how the UFC promotes fighters, and their inability to promote him is really a condemnation of them as promoters. But Ben Askren just fit more along the lines of how they do business. And so I think the UFC is very pleased with that. And then one got to promote having the best fighter in the world, the pound for pound best fighter in the world for a while. They got to have the Adriano Moraes trilogy and do other things. He got to be connected with Matt Hume. Like, that's, both parties were very content with this outcome. And at the time we even said, like, this kind of makes sense. This is okay. In retrospect, though, it sucks. Like, as I look back about it, I gave you my first reaction. After I sat and spent some time thinking about it, my like second or third reaction to this was, man, I really wish DJ's career had ended better. Like, the Adriano Moraes trilogy was meaningful and good to some extent, but like, how many times in the past several years have we been like, it would be a lot cooler if DJ was back and we got to see DJ fight Brandon Moreno, if we got to see, the trilogy with Henry Cejudo, which should have happened, if we got to see DJ versus Pantoja or DJ versus Davison Figueiredo. Like, there were so many of this generation of flyweights that came through where we never actually got to see the test of DJ and where that went and what maybe that could have meant for him long term as a champion. Let's say he, if he wins a trilogy fight with Cejudo and then puts another 4 or 5 title defenses together, like, suddenly it's really not a debate that he is a top 3 all-time great. So we missed a lot by him going to ONE. But that's just me being selfish, because I don't think DJ has any sadness about this trade whatsoever. I think he's very happy with how his career ended. But in retrospect, I think we did miss out on a lot of really cool stuff.
Completely agree. Like, him and Moreno would have been ridiculous. Him and Pants would have been fun.
Dude,
Like
him and Figgy, after Figgy kills Benavidez, and it's just like, all right, let's do it. Let's see what happens now. It would be awesome.
Yeah. And just thinking of some of the up-and-comers now, like even like Brandon Royval and DJ would have been fun. Just like, the whole division, it just would have been incredibly fun, but not to be, however.
DJ versus Dillashaw.
Yeah,
that probably would have happened up at 135 instead of 125. Like, there's a lot of cooler things than him fighting Tatsumitsu Wada.
Yeah.
So just, all right, sure.
You would think, like, I think for you that you probably have more respect for DJ than, I think we all respect DJ a ton. Like, I think he's at the top of our list in terms of like fighters we should respect. But as a guy who, for as long as I've worked with you and as long as I've known you at this point, Jed, for a guy who just loves when a fighter stays in their own division and continuously defends their belt over and over again against the next guy forever. I mean, forever. Everybody in this media space, when they interview Demetrious Johnson, continue to ask this man, when you're going to 135 to fight TJ Dillashaw or Cody Garbrandt or whoever was the champion at the time, a rematch of Dominic Cruz. Every time it was the same. I'm not going to call for it. I'm not going to say it. I'm just going to do whatever I'm supposed to do. And if that means fight the next guy up at 125, cool. But if the UFC pays me a whole bunch of money and they say, hey, we'll give you a huge raise, you go up, fight this guy, sure, I'll do it. But my job is to be the flyweight champion of the world and be the best damn flyweight in the world. How much did you respect that, especially looking at where things are right now, where it's always, oh, I want to move up and move down. I want to be a 2-division champion. I want to be a 3-division champion. DJ was never like that.
No, that's why he's dope. Like, I loved DJ, and it was part of like, particularly for me, Mike, as you've laid it out, like, I understood back then, as I have tried to repeatedly tell people, there are 9 champs in UFC history. Like, there are a lot of them. There are 2 fighters who have double-digit title defenses. There are, like, it is people, because it is not as flashy or whatever, people don't seem to value it in the same, but it is legitimately substantially more impressive to string together 11 title defenses than it is to high roll on one fight up at 135. Like, which is what it is. That's what every one of those is. There aren't no fighter who's been a champ is a multiple defending champ. Like the hit, because the history isn't they go up and then they lord over the next weight class for 5 years. It's they go up, they win one, maybe they drop a belt, they lose a fight, they Daniel Cormier. It's just not how it happens. Whereas staying in one weight class for half a decade, which is what DJ did, and completely obliterating it is so rare. And DJ got flack for it at the end of his career when like the Dillashaw fight is being dangled and DJ's like, they're not going to pay me more. I don't care about it. Like I'm the best guy in my weight class. If they're not going to pay me for it, why do I give a shit about it? And people were like, oh, he's ducking TJ. It's like, no, you absolute buffoons. He's just not an idiot. Like that. What is the benefit to him because Demetrious Johnson is the 10th champ in UFC history, or Demetrious Johnson has the record for most title defenses in UFC history. One of those things is just more special than the other, frankly. And so I always respected the shit out of it. It's one of those things that I do believe that if he is going to get more credit now that he is retired, it will be because people can just look at a raw number and be like, 11 title defenses. How is he not the best fighter ever? Like nobody else has 11 title defenses. That's a lot of title defenses. And he kind of always had that focus, which obviously was hugely appealing to me.
Agreed. Most impressive stat, fact, moment that pops into your head when it comes to Demetrious Johnson? Is it the title defense number at the top, or is it something else?
So the most impressive is the title defenses, because I can't stress this enough to people. And I'm sorry if you've heard me harp on this a million times, but the people who haven't, it is impossible to defend a belt 4 times. It is so hard to defend a belt 5 times. But like Islam Makhachev is the current best pound for pound fighter in the world for everyone not named Dana White. And his last title defense against Dustin Poirier, he afterwards comes out and is like, that was really hard. It was really hard because it's just hard to be champion. I'd like to test myself at welterweight because that is hunting as opposed to playing king of the mountain for as long as I can. Every long reigning champion in the history of this sport has said something similar. Kamaru Usman was like, it's pretty tough to be the dude at the top. It is so hard to wake up every day with the target on your back. And if you have one bad day at the office, if you get sick but can't pull out because the whole card is built around you, if you stub your toe or roll your ankle walking into the cage, if you just have a momentary lapse and get a shin upside your head, it's over. Everything you built crumbles down. The pressure and the difficulty of fighting the best fighters in the world, because that's who you're fighting. At other points in time, you might not be fighting the best dude in the world. You might be fighting an unproven prospect or somebody who is past their prime. If you are defending a belt, it is the best dude in the world. And for not even almost, for every single one of them, this is the moment that their career has been leading up to. They have spent their entire adult life to get to this spot to defeat you. They are giving you everything they possibly can. You have to deflect best shot after best shot after best shot. It's why people can't defend a belt for 3 times or 4 or 5. Alexander Volkanovski, who in my opinion is one of the 15 to 20 best fighters ever, has 5 title defenses? It's an insane number. DJ has twice as many. It is so incomprehensible to have this level of success with this stakes and this pressure in opposite to you that I cannot overstate how impressive it is to have this record that he does. So it's clearly the most impressive. If you're just going for the what's the dopest shit, is very clearly the Mighty Whiz Bar. That's the best submission in mixed martial arts history. And it was cool as hell in real time. Watching it, I was like, I can't believe that just happened. So yeah. And my last thing on this, I will never forgive. I want to say it's Casey. I'm pretty sure it's Casey, actually. I will never forgive Casey because the year the Mighty Whiz Bar happens, what year was the Mighty Whiz Bar? That was 2017. DJ should have been fighter of the year that year, and Casey did not vote for him. And I lost my mind at him. So Max Holloway was your fighter of the year, which is very silly. Obviously, DJ deserved it that year. I'll never forgive you, Casey.
Yes, he was. Obviously, that was the submission of the year for MMA fighting in 2017. Because what else could it have been? It had
the
to be
submission
that.
of all time.
Thinking back on that submission, looking at it all these years later, my first thought right now is like, man, I wish we were doing the watch party back then. Because like the live reaction to the Mighty Whiz Bar would have been absolutely ridiculous. But I'm completely with you when it comes to the 11 title defenses in a row. To me, especially in 2024 and looking at the future of this company and the sport, that is the Joe DiMaggio 56 game hitting streak. No one's, I don't think it's going to happen again. I don't think that record's ever going to be broken. At least as long as I am alive and on this planet, I don't think anyone's getting 11 straight title defenses. I just don't see it happening.
It is super never going to happen now. In a day and age where everyone every fighter now is so focused on champhood, no chance. There's just no chance. Like that was why I was like, Volk shouldn't try and go to lightweight. Like he is legitimately in spitting distance of catching Jose Aldo, but then he spent a year fighting for the lightweight belt, got knocked out, and then got knocked out by Ilia Topuria. Maybe that doesn't happen. Maybe he has more title defenses and he's in this conversation instead of Aldo, but people have their eye on the shiny prize.
Yep. All right. I mean, that's again the Cliff's Notes version of all of this. But
I
please.
owe Casey an apology. Casey voted DJ number 1. That is correct. So I am proud of Casey. Casey, I disparaged your name and I'm very, very upset that I did that. I forgot how many absolute morons we had on staff at this point. I'm not even like, I know these people. I'm on good terms with them, but like 1, 2, 3 people did not have DJ ranked in their fighter of the year. DJ lost by 3 points to Max Holloway. DJ lost by 3 points in the voting to Max Holloway, and 3 different absolute jackasses didn't have him ranked. And I love you to death, Pete Carroll. It is fucking insane that you had Volkan Ozdemir over Demetrious Johnson.
Oh my God.
You had Volkan Ozdemir over Demetrious Johnson ranked. That is lunacy. Dave Doyle, you're a good man, and at least you didn't have Volkan Ozdemir, but RDA, come on, man. Rose, come on. This was also no absolute nonsense. And Chuck Mendenhall, who I have so much respect for, also had Volkan Ozdemir. You pathological psychos. What in the name of God were you thinking that DJ didn't deserve it in 2017? Lunatics.
With that,
I've never been more upset. I can't believe I just had to go see Volkan and Ozdemir got multiple votes over Demetrious Johnson.
Oh my God.
That's I get wild. It. He had a fun, that was the fun no time 2017, but come on, because he knocked out Misha Serkinov and Jimmy Manuel. We're that guy did it. One of the 5 best fighters of the year, folks. PC, it's on site if I see you. And I love you to death, but God, that's insane to me.
So glad I wasn't working at MMA fighting back then, because I would have.
I was so livid at the time. Now, granted, I also actually did have Volkan ranked that year, but I didn't have him ranked over DJ because I'm not a psycho. I remember being oh no, I didn't have him ranked. Okay, I was about to say that seems weird that I would have him ranked. I didn't have him ranked. Meltzer did. Which again is just absolute lunacy that Volkan Ozdemir was almost in this list. But I remember at the time being furious at people being look, I love Max Holloway. Max Holloway's fun as hell. Max Holloway had the same win. He beat Jose Aldo twice. This is the year DJ gets it. Come on, guys. We should all be on board here.
Freaking assholes. Wild, man.
If any of them just ranked DJ, he's the fighter of the year.
Yeah.
They just ranked him anywhere. So silly.
See, underappreciated, undervalued, all the unders for Demetrious Johnson. All right. We'll take a few minutes. If you guys got questions, you guys got DJ thoughts.
I
We
bet if you
will
asked
discuss.
PT, he'd be like, I have some regrets about that.
Oh,
That maybe wasn't my
I would
best
say
moment.
so. I would say so. Someone asked, are we previewing the event tonight? Yes, we are. Don't you worry. People's Pre-Fight Show, about 3 hours from right now, 3:30 Eastern. We'll talk UFC. We'll talk Bellator.
And that same thing, the question was, how many title defenses does he have? 5. He had 5.
He had 5
half.
in a row. Yep.
He had a half.
Yep. It seemed like his run was way longer, right? Volkanovski had 5. He had 5.
Yeah, half. Exactly.
Crazy.
Half. It's like 3 or 4 years, but then also like the Izzy run would have, it had the Blachowicz fight in there. It's just 5 is a lot. 5 is unbelievably impressive. They're like, I'm trying to off the top of my head, I would say there are probably like 20 fighters in UFC history with 5+ title defenses.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Yep, 14 with 5 or more.
14. That's
consecutive title defenses.
Wow, really?
Yep.
I
DJ,
really thought
Silva, GSP, John Jones, Jose Aldo, Valentina Shevchenko, Ronda Rousey, Ioana Jędrzejczyk,
Amanda
Ortiz,
doesn't count.
Amanda Nunes.
That's right. Oh no, Amanda does count. She has 5.
Yep, and Matt Hughes had 5.
didn't
Usman,
think Amanda had
Adesanya,
5.
Volkanovski all had 5.
I didn't think Amanda had 5 because she was bouncing around between the weight classes. Also, didn't Tito get 5?
Tito got 5. Yep, I mentioned
Tito did get 5. Okay, yeah. But I mean, yeah, it's a very short list. 14 of them.
like Jose Aldo had 7. Valentina Shevchenko.
Jose Aldo had 9. It's a lie, but yes.
Yeah, I know. But Valentina Shevchenko only had 7. And it says, like,
Yeah.
I don't mean only as a disrespectful thing, but compared to Demetrious Johnson, how far ahead of her peers Valentina was, maybe even further ahead than Demetrious Johnson in a lot of respects, had 7 and then lost. It just goes to show you how hard this is.
Hard.
It's insane.
It's just impossibly difficult, man. It's so hard.
Is that a Bears hat? Hell no.
It's definitely not a Bears hat.
Hell no. Come on. I saw some people saying it looked like it had a do-rag on, but I didn't even realize I had a hat on until this started. And I'm like, well, I'm not going to take it off now. There we are.
Yes, Casey vindication, Sanchez. Casey was on my team, not opposed to me. I knew that he's in my mind about this incident, but I think it was he and I were screaming at people about what the hell had unfolded.
Retiring without fighting is meh. I don't know what that means.
He fought a lot. I don't know if you know this.
Fights.
Demetrious Johnson fought 50 times or something. 30, sorry.
30 pro fights.
Fought a lot.
He fought a bunch of times. Hughes did 2 reigns also. Yeah, but the question was 5 or more.
Also, Hughes' second reign was short.
It was 2. He had 2.
Yeah. Yeah. Consecutive. I mean, yeah, if you're not doing consecutive, I guess you would add Hughes and that's it. Did anybody else have a reclaim the belt and have an additional title defense that would have kicked him over a number? I don't think so. I guess Randy with his multiple title defenses maybe gets to 5 if you're counting multiple weight classes and titles runs.
Yeah,
I'm actually not sure. Let me count Randy up here. So he never defended a belt a lot, which is one of the things about him.
That's the thing. Because Randy would win and then he'd lose his next fight. That happened a whole bunch.
3. No, Randy has 3 title defenses to his name combined across multiple weight classes.
Yep. Tyron Woodley had 4. Henan Barrow had 4. Chuck Liddell had 4.
Did Henan Barrow have a real or fake 4? Did one of his count as an interim defense?
I think he had a couple interim defenses, right?
I just want to see but are they counting that as his? Yeah, no, Henan's not it. Henan only had 3. He had 4 title fight wins, but he only had 3 defenses.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Because he lost to Dillashaw in his 4th
Holloway
one.
only had 3. Weidman had 3. Benson Henderson had 3. Frankie Edgar had 3.
Every lightweight had 3.
Cormier 3. Makhachev's got 3.
Cormier gets up to 4 if you
Very
add his
difficult.
heavyweight title defense. But like, it's just, yeah, man, one weight class defending multiple times. It's super hard, guys. I can't stress it enough.
Chase bought me half an iced coffee to tell you that you're wrong. The greatest submission is John killing Lyoto.
That's a cool submission. That's obviously ridiculous. Like, yeah, like that's a good submission. Probably wasn't the submission of the year that year. Like maybe it was, but
it was a good one.
He threw a grown man, a professional cage fighter, in the air and then armbarred him in the literal last second of the fight as a stamp of victory. Like, there are very few things that have ever been so just like disrespectfully cold-blooded as that. The literal only thing that you can say negative about it is that for whatever reason, he refused to call it the mousetrap. Like, the mousetrap is something else. That's the whiz bar. That's a very stupid thing. That's just it's the mousetrap, and it's the coolest thing that's ever happened. Other than the Showtime kick, which is the coolest thing that's ever happened.
John, are you going to start ranking one fighters normal now? Well, they don't do MMA events anymore, so
fighters.
Yeah.
Other than
that's gonna be
Anatoly
tough, man.
Malikin, who is weird.
RDR,
you don't rank him at middleweight, I don't think. I don't know. One's going to solve this problem for us in the near future, so it's fine.
Yeah, it seems that way, right?
One's not going to be a going concern for us, which means we're going to have to find a new promotion for the organizational draft, but we need to find 2 new ones, frankly, with the PFL tour being whatever it's doing. So,
yeah, seems like one is slowly making
Mikey Musumeci cut 30 pounds in like 2 days or whatever, and then causing a literal tear in his lung, and then stripping him. It's just like, what are we even doing? Just give it up, guys.
They're so bad.
But shout out, Chachi got a black belt yesterday.
Sick. Oh my god, yeah, that was. I didn't even watch the whole clip. Ugh, unreal, unbelievable. All right, I think. Look, there's gonna be more programming talking about this. I'm sure when the People's Pre-Fight Show comes around in a couple hours from right now, we'll talk more about this. But yeah, if you're just joining us, wondering what we're doing here, I mean, the headline should tell you everything. But Demetrious Johnson calls it a career, 38 years of age, after 30 professional fights, one of the all-time greats. What else can you say about the man? And looking forward to seeing what's next for him. Seems like he's starting a little media enterprise of his own. And, apparently he doesn't predict Bilal Muhammad fights correctly or break them down. And I'm sure there's going to be many more fighters calling out Demetrious Johnson for his takes. And that just tells you that he's great at that.
Coming to Vox Media.
Oh, that's not a bad idea. Maybe we'll bring DJ over and we'll have some fun there. But we appreciate all of you. You guys are incredible. We got a little new outro. Where is it? There it is. A little breaking news outro. But we're gonna keep trying to do more and more of these here on the channel. As big things happen, we jump on here. Like I said, People's Pre-Fight Show, 3:30 p.m. Eastern. We'll have a post-fight show after the Bellator event. We'll talk UFC. We'll talk Bellator. We'll have on to the next one tomorrow, doing some matchmaking, following UFC Vegas 97. Then, guys, Spear card, Noche UFC, Riyadh season, UFC 306, Sean O'Malley, Merab Dvalishvili, Alexa Grasso, Valentina Shevchenko 3. It's going to be a massive week. It's going to be a gigantic week. And we will have you covered at MMAfighting.com. Watch party next week, Jed. At this time next week, I'll be in Atlanta getting ready for the watch party, which you'll be joining me for, which I'm very excited about.
Maybe we'll be just finishing up on the golf course.
Perhaps. Or maybe we'll both be finishing up recapping Bellator and Misfits.
I forgot.
Boxing.
Man, Bellator. Guys, I need you to cancel that event. I'd way rather go play golf. We got on the lead. Let me go play golf. I don't want to do that shit.
Oh my gosh. Craziness. Well, thank you all for joining us. Shout out to you, Demetrious Johnson. You are the man, and hopefully you get the accolades, the respect you deserve, and hopefully the UFC does the right thing and we immortalize you as a UFC Hall of Famer. For Jed Meshew, I am Mike Heck. Thank you for watching. We're out of here.
Love y'all.